In this video, I'm going to give you 10 things I wish I knew before booking my first all-inclusive vacation. So number one is, what are those must-haves? Those things that you must have when you are on vacation. Maybe you must have a really beautiful beach, or maybe the pool scene is more important to you. Perhaps the room and the room layout, or the food and the drinks. Whatever that is, you have to decide what your top priorities are. And if you're not really sure where to start in that whole process, I created a trip planner sheet. It's completely free. I'll put the link below because it's so important that you know what your priorities are in order to pick the right resort. This process alone is going to help you avoid major pitfalls. Trust me, because I've been there, and keep watching because there's some others that you can avoid as well. So number two is the price per night. And the price per night tells you a lot about the resort. And it's absolutely true that you get what you pay for. So the price per night is going to tell you a lot about the quality of the resort. So the lower the price per night, the lower the quality. And I know that might seem obvious, but I still see people fall into that trap of they're looking at the different resorts, and one resort is $400 per night and the other resort is $600 per night, and they go with the $400 one per night, when if they just would have paid a few $100s more, they would have been at a much better resort. And remember, this is all inclusive. So what you're getting is not only a room, but it's food and drinks. So if you're gonna go low quality on that, you're gonna go low quality in everything. So when you're making that final decision, try to push yourself a little bit higher, because think how often do you go on vacation and how much money you're spending all the time on a daily basis. So just spending a few $100s more per day on vacation could get you a much better experience. And remember that money comes and money goes, but these moments that you're going to create will last forever. So number three is all about reviews. And again, it might seem obvious. Of course, you're going to check the reviews before booking a resort or vacation, but sometimes the reviews don't tell the whole story. I definitely encourage you to watch the detailed video I did about how to book travel for cheap without using a travel agent. And I really go into a lot of depth about the reviews in particular. So I'll highlight some of the tips here real quick. So the first thing is in TripAdvisor, I don't even look at the resort if it has under 4.5 stars. And even a 4.5 star rating does not mean it's a really great resort. So make sure you read those reviews. You can even search the reviews for particular aspects that you're looking for, whether it's the beach or pool or food, things like that. So next for reviews is YouTube. So make sure you're searching the resort that you're looking to book on YouTube and watch the videos on it. They can really tell you things like the condition of the resort, the vibe. You can see if people are having a good time, what the layout is, what the rooms look like. In fact, that's why I created this channel, because I wanted more reviews like I'm doing. Sometimes it can be hard to find good reviews on resorts. So I'm always taking suggestions. If you have any place you want me to go, just drop them in the comments below. And of course, other social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, you can put in the hashtag with the resort's name. For Facebook, you could go to your town's page and actually ask for a recommendation, or ask if anyone's been to that particular resort, and see what comments come up. And number four is the size of the resort. I wish I had thought about what the size of the resort was before booking my vacation. I knew that most all-inclusive resorts were rather large, but I didn't know that some of them were immense. And just to get back to the lobby or certain areas of the resort, you had to take golf carts, and it took time. So I actually prefer some of the smaller resorts. Unless I'm traveling with my children, I like the larger resorts because there's more to do. Or maybe you're traveling with older people and it's hard for them to navigate the larger resorts. So I remember the first time I came back from one of the resorts and I was exhausted from walking so much. So now I prefer a more walkable resort. I like to be able to walk from the lobby to the beach in just a few minutes. And number five is the time of year. And none of us can ever predict Mother Nature, but there are certain times of the year that are better to travel to the Caribbean, where most of the all-inclusive resorts are, than other times. So I would say hurricane season is the absolute worst time to go to an all-inclusive resort, since most of them are in the Caribbean. Hurricane season is usually August through early November. Now, you can usually get really, really good rates, and there's lots of times during hurricane season when they have beautiful, beautiful weather. So you can take your chances, but sometimes the stress is just too much. Like if you really are, it's your only vacation, you're relying on it to be beautiful, beautiful weather, try to stay away from hurricane season. Also, during holidays like Christmas, President's Weekend, things like that, the prices are going to be way up and it's going to be super overcrowded. And again, there is no guarantee of anything when it comes to weather when you're going on vacation. So it just happens. It's going to rain. It's in the Caribbean, so things like that happen. I think every vacation that I've been on, we've had some type of rain. But usually I try to go between January and April, which the prices are a little bit higher, but then I could be guaranteed really nice weather for most of the time. And number 6 is transportation from the airport, and really just transportation in general. For instance, are you going to rent a car? Or are you going to take an Uber? How are you going to get from the airport to where you're going? So for instance, the first time I traveled to Cancun, I didn't really put a lot of research into it. I figured it was just like here, you go to the airport, there's tons of different taxis to get, and we did end up getting taken advantage of, which is why I now use Nacho Tours every single time that I go. But if I'm not traveling to Cancun, now I know I really take the time to research about the transportation, whether I need a car, and if I don't need a car, exactly how I'm going to get from the airport to where I'm going so that I can get there in the safest way and the most affordable and reliable way as well. And there's a ton of information out there on YouTube, again, which is why I made this channel. So just make sure you're always doing your research for every aspect of your trip. A few final tips on transportation is don't always go for the most affordable option because sometimes it can cost you more time and more money in the long run. For instance, renting a car. Sometimes the resorts charge a very large daily fee just to park the car. So you have to add that in. Also, the public transportation or shared rides, things like that, they may cost less, but it's going to take you a much longer time to get to the resort. I've even seen comments where people have had to wait hours and hours at the airport waiting for everyone to get there, or the bus didn't arrive, things like that. So if I'm not renting a car, I go for the private transfer because even though it costs a little bit more, it gets me to my destination quicker with much less stress. And number 7 is the proximity to the airport. And I know it sounds silly, but I'm just going to be honest. On one of my first trips that I booked, I didn't even think about looking how close the resort was to the airport. So after I booked and started doing more planning, I realized it was over an hour, and I was traveling with my kids, and they were already going to be on a plane for 3 or 4 hours. So it did add some stress to the trip, but it also added more money. So now I really look into seeing how close it is to the airport, especially if I'm traveling only for 3 days and 3 noches. I want something as close as possible. Maybe that's not something that's important to you, but I figured I would mention it because it can add some stress and a lot of time onto your trip. And number 8 is the beach. And if you follow this channel, you know I'm a huge beach person. It's a big priority when I go on vacation. And yes, we can never control Mother Nature. So I do get a lot of comments about that. However, you are paying a lot of money to go on vacation. And if the beach is the priority, you want to make sure that you're going to go to a resort that has a beautiful beach. And yes, beach conditions can change, but there are some resorts out there that the beach is always horrible and the beach conditions don't change. So make sure you do your research ahead of time if that's a top priority to you. And also go back to that time of year and make sure that if that's what you really are looking for, that you're trying to travel during the ideal situations, knowing that it is Mother Nature and that we can't always control it. Okay, almost done. Keep watching. You definitely want to see these last few. So number 9 is room placement. So where your room is located in the resort. And I wish I knew before going to an all-inclusive resort that sometimes your room placement can actually make or break your vacation. Maybe that's a little dramatic, but it can add some stress to your vacation. For instance, we had one that was really far from the lobby. There were no golf carts. So I was exhausted walking back and forth from the room. The other thing is maybe you're in front of a noisy pool and you like to relax in your room in the afternoon, and then that doesn't become an option. So there are different factors, and most resorts are going to tell you that they cannot guarantee where your room is placed. However, this is a tip inside of a tip. Call the resort before you go. Anytime you book a vacation, call the resort, One, request a special room. Let them know that you're having, a special occasion or something like that. See what the upgrade options are. Maybe there's a great upgrade and it's not that expensive. Also just getting all the details about the resort in general. And like I said, you can never guarantee a perfect vacation, and you are at a resort. There's going to be noises. I've never been in a room where I don't have a perfectly quiet room. However, you can take precautions before going to try to make sure that you get the best room possible for what you paid for. And number 10, although there is a bonus one after this, is about the spa and excursion. So I wish I knew before booking my all-inclusive trip that these often sell out by the time that you get there. So a few times I went on vacation. When I got there, I wanted to book spa massages and they were booked. A couple of the excursion we wanted to go on were booked. So now I always book in advance if they allow it. So again, you just have to check with the resort, call the resort, and make sure you set those up ahead of time. Now, in regards to the spa, I actually don't even go to the spa anymore when I'm on vacation because it's usually so overpriced. So a massage can be $200 plus, and it's just usually ridiculous. So I don't spend a lot of time at the spa anymore. But if it's something that's important to you and it's something you really want to do on your vacation, my recommendation would be to book it before going. Okay, but one last one, which is a quick bonus tip, and that is it truly all-inclusive? So make sure you know about any hidden fees, like if there's resort fees. Also, tipping is usually not included, so you want to factor that in. I think Sandals and Beaches is the only resort I've ever been in where tipping's been included. And also, what upgrades are available? Because lots of times, if you're just doing the basic level, you don't get the premium liquors. Sometimes at restaurants, you can't order certain dishes. You can't use certain areas of the resort. So just make sure you know what all-inclusive truly means. Do you have to pay extra for water sports or for chairs and cabanas and things like that? In my experience, usually in Cancun and Dominican Republic, it's pretty all-inclusive. And usually I will upgrade to the next level so I can get the premium liquors. I can get a little bit extra perks. But again, I had no idea about this before going to an all-inclusive resort. So again, just make sure that before you book, you know what really is all included. So I hope you found these 10 things, well actually 11 things I wish I knew before booking my first all-inclusive resort helpful. In fact, there's probably even more tips and tricks in my other videos. So make sure you spend some time checking out the other reviews that we did. And if you did find this useful, please like and subscribe and follow us on 3 Days and Tres Noches while we keep bringing you real, honest information that you can use to book your next vacation.